So here is the free hit team. Here's what your initial thoughts are, given the context of what you've just described, with all these teams that look good defensively and offensively, players with stuff to play for, Nick Pope in for the Golden Gloves, etc., etc. Interestingly, I see you haven't gone for Nick Pope. But let's so talk us through it. This is your first thoughts on the game week 38.
Sorry, I'm just getting up here because I can't see.
Okay.
There. Right. So
treble Spurs for a start. Aurier, Son, and Kane.
Yeah. So Son. Real kind of mixed feelings about Sonny. I still do. Son could easily be Mora, and maybe Mora, because there's a lot of budget to be saved by doing that. But then I'm also thinking about what I don't want to do is end up with a free hit team where I've got like the best 5 and the best 3, because then who do you bench? Like I've got to narrow it down somewhere along the lines. So I think Salah, Fernandes.
Yeah, who are you benching in that midfield? No one, presumably.
No, well, I'm probably going to have to bench Nketiah, but then I don't really want to do that necessarily either. So it's a bit of an issue. This is what I need to work on. So my defence, at the moment, I've downgraded Trent to Van Dijk because I don't want to go into that game without a Liverpool defender. I could take it down further and go Gomez, but I kind of feel like there's still a bit of attacking potential if I get Van Dijk from
of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I feel like that's a better option if I can afford him. I'm going to keep Aurier because why not? Spurs are really good defensively at the moment.
Yes, I would.
And I'm going to play Peters, obviously. So they'll be my 3 at the back. At the moment, I'm going to play Martinez because if Pearson really has been sacked, what kind of Watford are we even going to see? On that final game of the season. I know they've got stuff to fight for, so there's not necessarily going to be a clean sheet there, but he's really cheap and it enables me to have the rest of the team the way I want. Up top, I really...
Well, let's focus on the defence for a second then. So you've got Martinez and Button in goal. Okay, there's a couple of cheap options there, but I like them. Your starting 3 is likely to be Aurier, Van Dijk and Peters. Talk to me about Diop and Lamperty then, because Diop is a nice pick.
Yeah, see, Diop is another one that I've kind of picked because he's an old favourite of mine. I owned him, was it last season, I think, at the end of last season I owned him.
Aston Villa at home for Wolves?
Decent fixture.
For West Ham, I should say.
The only thing that puts me off is that Aston Villa are still attempting some sort of minor miracle. But I do think there's a clean sheet in that for West Ham. They've been so much better. So he could easily, and he got attacking returns last game week as well. There was an assist there for him, so potentially he could play as well. And this is my issue: is I don't want to end up with a free hit team where my bench scores loads of points. I'd rather redistribute the cash, but he's so cheap that he's a nice enabler.
But listen, we'll come to the midfield in just a second, but there's a couple there. Given the Bruno picked up maybe a little bit of a knock today, and
I did
Pulisic
this before the
maybe a little bit of a knock. They could. If you're going to have a free hit team, it makes sense to have a half-decent bench in case some of these guys get rotated.
It does.
Diop should be in there, that's good. Lamperty?
Just final cheap option, because at the moment this leaves me with 0.1 in the bank.
Right,
so in terms of affordability at the defence...
One to watch for next year maybe, Lamperty.
I think so.
That's a good young player.
I've got him partly because I really rate him. I think he looks really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch for next season for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, there's your defence. That's looking pretty solid, I would say. I wonder whether you might regret not having Trent Alexander-Arnold. That could be a bit of a rank killer. But listen, Van Dijk will surely cover any defensive points. And of course, you've got the upside of maybe a header. Moving into your midfield then, so you're going to keep with Mo Salah and Fernandes and Pulisic, interestingly. So I want to talk to you about Pulisic in just a second. And then Son, and then we're playing the kind of the nostalgia, the football romanticist in you is coming out, Sam, with David Silva, which is a nice pick. Out of those 5, talk me through it all, but I want you to start with Pulisic, interestingly, because obviously Chelsea, I think they're pretty safe in terms of getting that top 3, top 4. Obviously got one eye on the FA Cup final. Pulisic didn't play in the semi-final today because potentially had a bit of a niggle that maybe they're just looking after him a little bit. Pulisic in your free hit team?
Maybe.
Okay.
So Pulisic and Fernandes are the ones that are kind of still a bit what I was kind of watching on them.
Eyes on the injury news, I would say, with Pulisic.
Yeah, I mean, I had this free hit draft I did just before. It was sort of before Spurs played. And then I tinkered with it again when Spurs were playing because I was like, Kane, son. Yeah. So Fernandes and Pulisic are leftovers from prior to what just happened in the FA Cup. So obviously, there was a few, we didn't really have the word about Pulisic before then. So they're interesting ones. I mean, it's a difficult one because Watford No, Wolves are good defensively. I am slightly... I took Doherty out in this and I don't really like that.
A few of the guys are saying, so Poster Point is saying, why Pulisic? Okay, so we've got that question. MZ Ludo is saying, no Antonio, Sam.
No, so that's another one. So the midfield...
Okay.
And this is part of the issue with the free hit at the moment, is that there's so many players doing really well that it's difficult to pick.
Absolutely.
So Antonio is one that's on the radar. I'm also really thinking about swapping Pulisic for Willian on the basis that it'll be potentially Willian's last Premier League game for Chelsea. So there's that...
Except an FA Cup final.
Premier League game for Chelsea.
Okay, yeah.
So it will be... the slightly romanticised nature of the David Silva stuff comes about again with that one. Fernandes, I don't know. I quite fancy Martial instead as a change for the final game week. But Salah's in there with the Golden Boot race. I can't take Salah out. As much as I would like to free up the money from him, I just can't bring myself to do it. It was hard enough getting rid of Trent.
Let's see what you guys are saying about Sam's midfield then. So Anupam is saying, why no KDB, Sam?
No, well, this is another one. He's gone in part of my free hit.
Sayuj Vlogs, no player of the season. KDB is his player of the season. Sam not going for him. A&M O'Brien saying Sterling.
No, I'm not going to have Sterling.
Okay.
To have Sterling, it throws the whole thing out in terms of budget. I just can't get there. KDB is I could potentially do if I take Pulisic down to Antonio, then he could stay. I could take Fernandes back up. There's ways of jiggling it, so I can do it to have the 3 City guys in there, which might be quite a nice way to end the season. But then that does leave me without any Chelsea and any Man United.
So no KDB or Sterling, but a place for a far more budget-friendly David Silva at 7.4. Is it just the football romanticism piece there, or is it the fact that he has got a bit of form, not as if he's out of form, right? He's shown some decent Premier League form recently when he's played minutes, and of course the fixture looks sensational.
I wanted him last week, and the only way to get him last week was to take out Rashford and St Maximin, which I was alright doing, taking a -4 to do that. I was okay with that, but I had so many injury issues that I just didn't have a bench at all. And then when KDB didn't play, I was glad I didn't do it in the end, because I'd have had 9 men.
Okay.
So David Silva I wanted last week. I just couldn't get there last week. So for the final game week, I really do want him. He's an absolute FPL legend, and I just get the feeling that Manchester City will look for him in that final game. They'll look for him. Could well do.
We've had a super chat. Let's just scroll up a bit. Super chat from Varun Gore. Thank you, Varun, for the super chat. Here's his team with his thoughts on what he wants to do in game week 38. I'm going to read the team out, but then I'm going to get your thoughts on his triple captain choice. We've still got the triple captain to play.
Okay.
So he's got Pope in goal, Trent, Tarkovsky, Peters, stroke Say, so he's not sure which one he's going to play there, whether he's going to go double Burnley or go for the Wolves defender.
Triple Burnley.
Or potentially even triple, yeah. David Silva, Willian to David Silva, it will be his free transfer. KDB, Mane, Bruno, Foden or Greenwood, Rashford, and then Aubameyang
captain
as a triple captain, Sam, in game week 38. No Aubameyang in your free hit team. How do you feel about Alba then?
Well, that's why Nketiah is still there, because it's too nice a fixture to not have any Arsenal attackers. The only way to do Aubameyang is to lose out on some of the others. I really fancy Jesus to do well in that game against Norwich. I mean, it's Norwich.
Yeah. Arsenal's Watford.
I know, but part of me does think that Watford, could they shouldn't get smashed. They shouldn't get smashed. It's a local derby for a start. They've got to try and stay in the Premier League. If there's ever going to be something for Watford to fight for, it is that game against Arsenal. And I just don't see them getting smashed, whereas I think Norwich get smashed.
Okay, all right. Well, no Alba in your front line, but you have got, of course, Mr. Harry Kane. You've got Gabriel Jesus, and you've got Eddie Nketiah. There's a bit of Arsenal coverage, as you mentioned before. So I don't want to dwell too much on Nketiah, but Kane and Jesus, talk me through those two. I kind of pick them. So you're going to have Harry Kane in your free hit 38, aren't you?
And I'm captaining him.
Particularly with the form that he's shown in the last few weeks. I think that makes a lot of sense. You're going to captain him as well in game week 38. Okay. Jesus, any concerns about, usual concerns about Jesus around game time, etc., or pretty happy to have him?
No, I've not got any concerns about game time with him. They've just gone out of the FA Cup, so that's one less game that they've got to play. They don't have Aguero. I cannot believe that in the final game of this, he might only get 60 minutes because they might have smashed Norwich 9-0 by then. But I can't believe he doesn't start him.
There was he in particular was so unlucky in that last game because he obviously got the goal. And I guess, I was doing Scoutcast match day with Andy and Gianni and Toby at the time, and I was watching the Wolves game, but Andy was watching the Man City game. And he was talking me through, it must be a penalty for Man City, and it's Jesus has been fouled. There was a couple of fouls on Jesus that weren't given, and when I look back, watched Match Today that night, I was like, how were they not fouls? At least one of them should have been a foul.
Can't explain VAR.
So, again, let's not try and explain VAR, but Jesus on another day could have had a goal, 2 assists, maybe the 3 bonus points.
Yeah.
So he's on reasonable form, and again, let's not mention it too much, but it's Norwich at home. It's Norwich at home. They're going to go out all guns blazing.
They've got nothing to play for, Norwich. It's over for them.
Okay.
We saw that in their game this week. So
Jesus and David Silva as your coverage for Man City, rather than the KDBs and the Sterlings and people like that. But okay,
I would really like to have. In an ideal world, I'd have 3 Spurs, I'd have 3 City, and I'd have still space for my Liverpools and my Manchester United. But you just can't do it.
All right.
So I don't know. I could do it by taking out Fernandes and Pulisic, bringing in Antonio and bringing back KDB, and then using Greenwood instead of Nketiah. That could be a way around it.
So lots still to be discussed in your free hit team, and lots of football to be played between now and when you actually have to hit the button and submit it.